Your mother has been in a hospital bed for 3 days. She's in a gown. There's an oar in her arm. Monitors beeping. Nurses coming through all night. To you, watching her in that bed, there is only one word for what's happening. She's been admitted to the hospital. Of course she has. Look at her. Medicare disagrees. On her chart there's a single word, observation, and because of it, Medicare's position is that your mother was never admitted at all. She was an outpatient the entire time. Same bed, same nurses, same 3 nights. One word on a form nobody showed you, and it changes everything about what happens next. Because here's where it lands. When she's discharged and she needs rehab, the skilled nursing care to get her walking again, you're going to assume Medicare covers it, the way it covers everyone's. And at the desk you're going to be told it doesn't, because that coverage requires her to have been an inpatient, and she never was. I don't want you to panic about this. I want you armed against it, because there's one plain question that catches this trap every time, and the whole game is asking it early instead of finding out at discharge. The entire trap lives in the gap between what a hospital stay feels like and how Medicare files it. So let me put your family right in that gap. Picture your mother in the bed. From where she's lying and from where you're sitting beside her, this is a hospital admission in every way that matters to a human being. She's being treated. She's staying over. Nobody in that room is thinking about billing codes. They're thinking about whether she's okay. That's the honest experience, and it's completely disconnected from the paperwork. Now picture the paperwork. Somewhere in the system, a decision got made, maybe by a doctor, maybe nudged by the hospital's billing rules, to call this stay observation instead of inpatient. Nobody announced it. It doesn't change her care or her room. It quietly changes one thing only, whether Medicare will pay for what comes after. And you're the one who meets that decision at the worst possible moment. Not at admission, when it could still be questioned. At discharge, when the doctor says she's ready to move to a rehab facility to recover, and the person with the clipboard explains that Medicare won't cover it, because your mother doesn't have the 3 inpatient days the rule requires. She has 3 observation days, which count for nothing. The care she needs is the same either way. The bill just moved from Medicare's desk to yours. So let me explain exactly how a person can be in a hospital for days and still fail Medicare's test. Because once you understand the 2 words at war here, you'll never assume she's in a bed so we're covered again. The first thing to understand is that observation is an outpatient status. That sounds absurd when someone is lying in a hospital bed overnight, but that's the rule. Inpatient means the hospital formally admitted her. Observation means they're keeping her, watching her, treating her, but on paper she's an outpatient the whole time. To a family, those look identical. To Medicare, they are 2 different worlds. And here's why the difference is so expensive. Traditional Medicare will only pay for skilled nursing and rehab care after a hospital stay, if that stay included at least 3 days as an inpatient. It's called the 3-day rule, and observation days do not count toward it, not one of them. So your mother can spend 4 nights in that bed, and if they were observation nights, she has 0 qualifying days, and the rehab she needs is entirely her family's bill. What decides which word she gets? Mostly something called the 2 midnight rule. In simple terms, if the doctor expects her to need hospital care spanning 2 midnights or more, she should generally be admitted as an inpatient. If they expect a shorter stay, she's likely to be placed under observation, even if she ends up staying longer than anyone guessed. It's a clinical judgment tangled up with billing pressure, and it is not something the family gets to vote on directly, which is exactly why you have to pay attention to it. And notice which situations trigger this. The stays most likely to be filed as observation are the ordinary ones for older people: a fall with no obvious break, chest pain that turns out to be nothing, a dizzy spell, a bad reaction to a medication. The very episodes a family waves off as a routine couple of nights in the hospital are precisely the ones the system is most likely to log as observation, which is how careful families walk straight into this without ever seeing the edge of it. There is one built-in warning, and most families miss it. If your mother is under observation for more than about a day, the hospital is required to hand you a form called the Medicare Outpatient Observation Notice, the MOON. If someone gives you that paper, that is not a formality. That is the hospital telling you, in writing, that she is an outpatient and the coverage clock is not running. The tragedy is that the notice explains the situation but doesn't fix it, so families read it, feel vaguely uneasy, file it in a bag, and only understand what it meant weeks later. And the numbers are real. Without the qualifying stay, the skilled nursing bill is entirely yours. And even when Medicare does cover rehab, there's a coinsurance of $217 a day for days 21 through 100 in 2026. This is not a small gap. It's the whole cost of getting your mother back on her feet. Consider a woman named Marilyn, 79, who spent 3 nights in a hospital bed and, on paper, was never once admitted to the hospital. Marilyn went in after a bad fall. She had tests, a room, round-the-clock nurses, the works, for 3 full days. Her daughter Karen was there for all of it and never thought to ask about billing status, because why would she? Her mother was so obviously in the hospital. When the doctors said Marilyn was ready to move to a skilled nursing facility to rebuild her strength, Karen felt relief. That's what Medicare is for. Except Marilyn had been under observation the whole time. 3 nights, 0 inpatient days. Karen found out at the transfer when the rehab facility explained that Medicare wouldn't be paying and that the family was looking at a bill that climbed past $10,000 fast. Karen kept saying the same thing to anyone who'd listen. She was there, she was in the bed, I sat next to her for 3 days, and she was right about every fact and still on the hook, because the one detail that governed the money was a word she was never told to look for. What makes this land so hard isn't a scam or a mistake by anyone Karen could point to. It's that the most important word of her mother's entire hospital stay was one nobody said out loud, on a form she wasn't taught to ask for, deciding a bill she didn't see coming. That's not a family being careless. It's a family never being handed the one question that mattered. So let's hand it to you now, before you need it. This is the shield. The defense here isn't a lawyer, and it isn't a form you have to fill out. It's a question, asked out loud, early, and then asked again. 3 moves. Move 1. The moment a parent is in a hospital bed, ask directly, and keep asking every day. Is she an inpatient, or is she under observation? Ask the nurse, ask the doctor, ask the case manager, and when you get an answer, ask them to note it, so it's not just a hallway conversation. This single question, asked on day 1 instead of at discharge, is the entire difference, because on day 1 the status can still be discussed and changed, and at discharge it can't. Move 2. Watch for the moon, that Medicare outpatient observation notice. If anyone hands you that paper, treat it as a red flag, not paperwork. It means she's an outpatient right now. That's your cue to go straight to the doctor and ask whether she can and should be admitted as an inpatient, given how sick she actually is, and to make the case that her care is spanning the midnights the rule cares about. You are allowed to advocate. Most families just don't know there's anything to advocate about. Move 3. If rehab or a nursing facility is even on the horizon, confirm the inpatient days before discharge, not after. Ask point blank, does my mother have 3 inpatient midnights so her skilled nursing care will be covered? And know this, because it's newer and most people haven't heard it. If she was switched from inpatient to observation during the stay, families now have a right to appeal that reclassification. That door was shut for years. It's open now. Use it. Do those 3, and the word that would have ambushed you at the discharge desk gets caught on day 1, while there's still time to do something about it. Now the honest edges, because I don't want you marching into a hospital thinking you can simply demand a status. The 2 midnight rule means this is, in part, a medical and billing judgment, not a choice the family gets to make by insisting. You can ask, you can advocate, you can push the doctor to document how sick your parent really is, but you can't just declare her an inpatient. And the moon notice, as we said, tells you the situation without changing it. The appeal right is real, but it's newer and has its limits, so it's a tool, not a guarantee. One more that matters a lot. If your parent has a Medicare Advantage plan instead of traditional Medicare, the rules can be different, and some of those plans actually waive the 3-day requirement, so the exact same situation can play out completely differently depending on the plan. Check it before you assume either way. There's genuine movement to repeal this 3-day rule because advocates have argued for years that it traps exactly the families we're talking about. But as of now, it's still the law, so plan around the world as it is. When you're in it, your best allies are the hospital's own patient advocate or case manager and a free Medicare counselor through your state's SHIP program. Ask for them by name. This isn't a legal matter for an attorney so much as a knowing the question matter, and now you know the question. So look at your mother in that bed one more time. Nothing about her care changes based on the word on her chart. She gets the same nurses, the same tests, the same nights either way. The only thing that word decides is who pays for what she needs next and whether your family sees it coming or gets ambushed by it. And the entire difference between those two outcomes is whether somebody in your family thought to ask one question on the first day. So here's the move, and it takes 10 seconds. Put a sentence in your phone right now, in your notes, wherever you'll find it under stress. Write, is my parent an inpatient or under observation? And if observation, why? That is the sentence you pull up the moment a parent lands in a hospital bed, and you ask it at the desk, and you ask it again the next day. It is not rude, and it is not paranoid. It is the one question the system won't volunteer, and your family can't afford to skip. Your parents spent years being the ones who sat by your bed when you were sick. If this helped you sit by theirs with your eyes open, hit subscribe. I put out a new one of these twice a week, and on this one I'd rather you carry the question for years and never need it than need it once and not have it. And if you know a family with an aging parent who could end up in a hospital this year, which is every family, hit like, because this is the word nobody warns them about. Same bed, same care, same nights. One word decides who pays, and now you know to ask about it out loud. Your family won't meet that word for the first time at the discharge desk. I'll see you in the next one.